Welcome again on the economic policy for the new Zimbabwe, the framework for economic policy for the new Zimbabwe. This is the second video we're making today on the topic. The previous one, we did introduce to you these 5 pillars of development, or 5 pillars that Zimbabwe needs to put up so that we can have a robust economic development. I said these things are the 5 pillars that will really underpin this massive development that we will see in the future. So I say that we need to focus on energy independence, talking about electricity, okay, electrifying the whole country. Okay, I will tell you the plan of how we can do that. Water, healthcare, education, and road construction. Okay, let us hit it. When it comes to energy and electrification of the whole country, it is estimated that Zimbabwe it needs 2.2 kilowatts of energy, of electricity, right? So currently we're producing somewhere around 25% of needed capacity, 25 to 30%. So you will see that the country doesn't have electricity for the most of the day, up to 18 hours a day. Okay. We also have a water crisis, right? Harare doesn't have tap water. The Bulawayo tap water is starting to be is going on and off now, and other smaller cities are struggling with water. So I've got a plan for that. I've got a water plan of how to get the country water taps working. Healthcare crisis there. You know recently that there is a Zimbabwean woman who caused a debacle with the MSc of Health here in South Africa over healthcare with Zimbabweans using the South African health system, because we don't have our own health system that is adequately developed. So I've got a plan for that as well. I want to be discussing about that in this video. Education system, I've got a very brilliant plan for education. We're going to be talking about it. And I think in the past 20 years we've really lost a generation as far as education is concerned, because the education outcomes in the past 20 years are poor if one compared to those in the past 30 to 40 years in Zimbabwe. So there is an urgent need there. And also road construction, because for any meaningful economic growth you need to have your road infrastructure in place so that investment activity can take place. So you need to really have all these in place so that we can have that impetus of growth, unhindered by malfeasances of an uncooperative government. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so all of these things they fall, for them to happen they have to what I would call good governance. Okay, good governance. Okay, good governance doesn't need money to build. I need money to build the electrical grid. I need money for water provision. I need money for healthcare, but I don't need money for good governance. Okay, all of these things, they all need good governance, and good governance doesn't need money. Good governance needs the right hearts, people with the right heart and the right mind. And good governance doesn't always, people say that for us to have good governance we need people who are qualified for the jobs. That's fair enough. People need to be qualified for jobs. But most of the times we discover that qualified people do not always give good governance. Another thing that you need to look at is the heart of a person. Unfortunately, we cannot see hearts, but we can taste the hearts. We test hearts by giving someone a job and seeing how they do. If they do well, they carry on. If they don't do well, we remove them. We check the hearts by their track record. Right. So good governance actually has got to do with good leadership. All right. When we have got leaders that actually love us instead of self, who put people first before themselves, you will get to see that good governance will radiate from the leader to their subordinates and those in the outliers. then over time you will have a country that is called good governance. I do have a strategy on good governance, but I'm not going to talk about it now. I'm just going to say we will put that into place, but then we do not know how. I mean, I'm not going to talk about how. So energy, electrification. Now, currently Zimbabwe uses hydroelectricity and also coal, okay, from Wanke. In the future, we do need to keep on using the coal from Wanke for electrification and the hydroelectricity from Karipa. Those are the two main sources of electricity. I know that we have other smaller ones. The one in Bulawayo must be shut down. I think it's going to cause too much pollution. And now that we are finding oil and gas, we need to leverage on our gas fields and begin to produce electricity using gas. All right. Some of the gas infrastructure that I've been seeing can produce 300 megawatts. Is it megawatts or kilowatts? Mega is bigger than K. Yeah. 300, yeah. Now, because I'm not an electrician, I forgot now whether it's megawatts or kilowatts. Yeah, 300. We need 2,200 kilowatts, I think. So this one is 300. Yeah, I think it's 300 kilowatts. If I'm not mistaken, you can I stand corrected whether it's 300 kilowatts or 300 megawatts. One of those two. I'm not. The notation of that is not. I'm not really up to scratch with that. I'm not gonna pause this video to check for that. I don't have the time. So this one has got 300. Let's call it kilowatts. I might be wrong, but let's call it that for the sake of this video. So we need 2,200 kilowatts in Zimbabwe, right? Or megawatts, I don't know. So forgive me for that. 2,200. This one has got 300. So if you get six of them, six gas electrical producers, you will get to 1,800 kilowatts or megawatts or whatever. If you've got 7, or if you've got 8, you get 2,400 kilowatts or megawatts, which is more than what the country needs. Okay, so now that's gonna cost a lot of money. It's gonna cost billions of US dollars. Right. How do you structure the financing for this? Let's say it will need maybe somewhere around the region of $3 to $4 billion. I do not have anybody to tell me how much these things cost, but by looking at the cost in other countries, I can see that it may cost between $3 billion or $4 billion. Somewhere right around there, but I'm not really concerned much about the actual costing at the moment. Okay, at the moment I'm not concerned about the actual costing. As much as I'm not concerned that I forgot that it's kilowatts or it's megawatts, I've actually forgotten that as well. It's actually bothering me, but it's fine. I'm not a computer. I don't have to know everything. Now, how do you finance? Which is the most important thing. You finance it by actually looking at your, what you call it, at your viewing the country as a business. Okay, this energy supplier, ZESA, ESCOM, whatever, is actually a business. Should be run like a business. It's not government aid. All right, government does not produce electricity, does not offer electricity as an aid. No. It is a business, state-owned business. So if you provide capital for a business which will say is state-owned, It could be privatized, but the reason why it is done by the state is for obvious reasons, to avoid super profits and stuff like that, and make sure that there is provision, just as long as there's good governance. Anyway, so does it matter how much it costs, whether it's 2 billion, it's 4 billion, it's 6 billion, it doesn't really matter. What matters is that it is a business. Once the country is producing enough energy and has empowered the whole country, the people themselves that utilize that electricity will have to pay for it. You understand? Meaning that this energy company must be profitable. All right. I know that the initial capitalization is in these projects is extremely large, so that you do not recognize, you do not break even until maybe the next 25 to 30 years. All right. That's okay. But when we talk about year-end results, there must be net profit from it, so that you can service the debt, so that this company can service its own debt, right, without having to rely on government guarantees. You could have a government guarantee, but that will be deteriorating the debt, the quality of the debt. So for the company to have a high quality debt, though it is government guaranteed, it should be running away as far away possible from government as possible, such that if we are not able to repay the debt, this energy debt, the debtors can be converted to shareholders. Do you understand? In this way, whoever buys these energy bonds, which are strictly energy bonds, they're not for anything else, they're not for education, they're not for water, they're just for energy. All right. So they are specific. It's for this. All right. For this company that the government is starting, that is an energy company. Therefore, if the government is defaulting or is not able to repay its debt on the energy bill, or if this company, this is a company, then the debt holders would become the shareholders. So it becomes self-governing, self-financing, and at the same time ensuring that the country is energy independent. All right. And then let's move on. Water. How do you fix the water problem in Zimbabwe? First of all, you must have a national water company. Take it away from the city councils, because you want to avoid the politics that come with it. Even if the city council is involved, it must be very minimal, in areas where it's unavoidable. But however, the water company must be a national water company. All right. That will provide water from all the major cities, smaller towns, and even villages. Now, for that to happen, we need to have these massive constructions of dams. And fortunately, the government is already involved in that already. So you will have now to have these water bonds. See? So now you have another bond, another structure. So if an investor, a foreign investor or local investor is buying these bonds, now there's a differentiation. It's either you buy the energy ones or the water ones, or want to buy them both. So they've got different, they are structured differently. So the water one, the same, is similar as the energy one. So this is a water company. But you will see that building of large dams cannot be attributed to this water company alone, because that is more of a government infrastructural development program, of which some of the water would be used for irrigation and just water storage, other things that have got to do with this is a government thing. It's not really a company thing. Yeah, it's a government resource. The resource that must be owned by everybody. Water is owned by everybody. So in on that one, then the government takes it up to itself that it guarantees that debt. So it's not really guaranteed by the water company. The water company is to make sure that there is water across the whole country and is profitable. So the water company also must make profit, so that if it makes profit, it will contribute to the paying of that water bond. But on top of that, the government needs to pay, because it's really building big dams is a lot of money, and it will take a long time for people that buy water from the tap to repay. So that one is a mix. The water company pays, and also the government will have to pay. And where will the government get the money from? The government will have to get the money from the mining sector, agricultural sector, and tax revenues. When you actually get to increase your tax base, and if you're running a good governance, you will have money. Okay, and then you'll pay for that. Then there's a healthcare bond as well. You need bonds for healthcare to build clinics and hospitals. So you need to streamline these funds and know where they are coming from and where they are going. So if you're building hospitals and clinics across the whole country, and providing medication and paying for doctors and nurses and all that stuff, you need to know how much money you put in there so that you can adequately do the costing. You see, I do not believe that the government must be providing free everything. Things should only be free if it's a dire situation. Someone is in dire situation, they cannot pay, and it's an existential threat to that person. So they might get free healthcare, free education. Otherwise, normally, people must be paying for everything. People must pay for electricity, even if it's expensive. People must pay for water, even if it means that we're going to have to charge more. And people must pay for healthcare. Because remember that all this money that builds these hospitals and pays these doctors is borrowed money. Somebody has to pay for it. You can't be offering free healthcare, free water, and free electricity. There's nothing for free. There's nothing like a free lunch. So, see, this policy that I am talking about means that you will get to a period whereby things may be costly. But it's okay for things to be costly if the economy is growing in tandem with this cost. To understand? So these fundamentals, or these pillars that I'm laying down here, if they are intact, it means that the economy will grow. People will get jobs and they will get paid. So when they get paid, they must pay for electricity, they must pay for water, they must pay their hospital bills. You understand? So if they want to pay through what you call it, this medical aid, the medical aid must pay the full amount. Why? So that the healthcare services that the government provides also is not subsidized for everybody. It should at some point either make some profit or break even, or make super profits in the higher end hospitals, and the profits from the high end hospitals to subsidize the clinics in poor areas. Now, this has to be approached carefully, because at the end of the day, you do not want to strangle your people. But what I'm just saying basically is that somebody must pay, and it is the people that must pay. The government will only come in if providing healthcare is excessively expensive beyond the affordability of the public, but there has to be a public contribution to healthcare, meaning that when you go to a hospital, you must be given a bill that you pay. When you get water to the tap, you must be given a bill that you pay. And when you get electricity, you're given a bill that you pay so that the creditors can be paid back their money. That is why we develop an economy, so that people can make money and pay. Not that people can make money and buy alcohol. No. People must make money and pay. Okay. Taxation is important. Education. When it comes to education, we need to develop a new system of education that is targeted education on specific sectors. And I can spend the whole 1 hour or 2 hours talking about the plan that I have for education. It's very elaborate and it's time consuming, but we need now to get to a place where we are IT conscious. All students must have some electronic gadget, whether it's a laptop or iPad. They must have a government app, education app, that every single student should have it on their iPad or laptop. They're able to write their homework in them. They're able to have soft copies of textbooks in them, to have lessons that are pre-recorded in them. Understand? Everything must done online. The teachers must teach online. Some of the things must be recorded. Classrooms must have cameras, must have proper boards, not those chalkboards, but big screens. Understand? We must be more technologically focused. And also, when it comes to the curriculum, there must be an overhaul of the whole curriculum, because most of the time we discover that a child spends 13 years in primary school and high school learning stuff that is not necessary. Understand? We need to focus on the right stuff, and not everybody must learn the same thing. Not everybody must write the same 8 subjects in O level, and not everybody must have the same number of years in high school. We need to be focused on really developing the individuals, the specific talents of an individual. Make sure that they are well developed from a younger age, so that they become more focused on different things, not on the same thing. Such that when we're writing examination, we usually have got different dates, even different years of writing examination, and completely different subjects. All right, it doesn't always have to be the same subjects every time. So that I will take 3 hours to explain that, and some of it is stuff that would be developed by industry experts in those particular industries. All right, I might know a few, things that are pertaining to the industries that I know of, but then as we develop this thing, it has to involve other people as well who have got competencies in those areas. Basically, what I'm saying is that if you have got this kind of e-learning developed, we'll have our children on their laptop or iPad, whatever, at home, being able to access information, even deeper information on the subjects that they're dealing with, or even other subjects that they're not dealing with, and learn at their own pace. They can advance, they can take up new courses that the teacher at school are not teaching them, because those courses are online and they've shown some interest in that. And then you find that there's already a community within that e-learning platform that is national and empowered by the government. You understand? So that the outcomes can be specific and well targeted. And since it's an e-learning platform, even the education department is able to see which kids are good at what, and industry is able to leverage on that and able to tap on the talent that the e-learning program will produce, and industry will be able to also to contribute towards um, um, the study material. You understand what I'm talking about? So that will cost money to develop, but things that are e-based actually cost less in the long term, because if you've got a teacher that teaches something for 30 minutes and records it, that recording lasts forever. That recording, instead of teaching 20 or 30 students in one class, it can teach to 50, 100, thousands of students over a long period of time. So you will find that we'll have good quality teachings, multiple teachings upon different subjects that can be all brought together into this like streaming service of some sort. It's a combination of streaming and journaling, online journaling, and stuff like that, and all of it done online so that we can retrieve material, and it will help to the development of our students. And I think that is the education direction that any country that seeks to take advantage of the new technologies should actually be taking. That's the direction we must be taking. If we do that, we really would be able even to teach people that have already left school leavers. Let's imagine with this e-learning thing, just get your laptop or iPad. You finished O level 5 years ago and you want to advance, education wise. You also enter there's also some courses, not just primary and high school, but also there's tertiary courses in there, that are provided by this e-learning platform, and you are able to advance yourself education wise. Do you understand what I'm talking about? So it could be something that every single Zimbabwean must have. And because if we do it well, we can actually sell it to other countries. That's the revenue for the government. So even this education system, people must pay for it. It will cost money, but people must pay for it. If they value it, they will pay for it. Why am I talking about pay for it? Because I want to demonstrate the affordability of these seemingly expensive endeavors, that we can afford them because over time people would be paying for them, providing a source for debt repayments. To understand, because African governments and other poor governments are struggling and repaying their debts, it is because there is no organized system of revenue, revenue allocation and revenue, payments and stuff like that. So we just know that the government owes 13 billion. We do not know for what. We don't even know how we're gonna get that money back, how we're gonna repay, and there was not even a strategy or plan on how to repay back. So to understand now, when we borrow money as a government for these key items, the money is specific for these items. You could tell how much was borrowed for this, and you could tell over time, is that thing having a rate of return? What is the rate of investment? What is the rate of return? So what is the rate of return in each and every single one of these things? You should be able to look and investigate and see if it is working or not, and why it's not working, and where it is missing the point, and so that we can repay the debt. So this helps for us to get the financing, because we do need the financing for these things, right? So moving on from education, we go to road construction. Right. Road construction is very important because almost all industries that are not service oriented, or that are tangible goods services, industries, they need to use roads. Even people use roads to travel. So for your economy to develop, remember these things, these pillars that I put, this energy, water, healthcare, education, and road construction. The reason why they have to be there, I said that is the foundation for economic development. You need these things in place anyway, so that meaningful economic development may actually begin. Because without them, there will be no meaningful economic development. Okay, so you need to have your road constructed, road construction, closing potholes and stuff like that, building highways and bridges in rural areas and urban areas. Now that will cost also a lot of money. Anyway, road construction is a continual government expenditure. However, in this instance, in the instance of Zimbabwe, we are coming from a very low base. So there is a certain level of of what's the word I'm looking for? There's a certain level of road development. There's a threshold that we need to reach before we can start meaningful economic development. All right. So that threshold, after we reach that, whatever road development or construction that comes after that is just a miscellaneous, just extra, not meaningfully developing marginally to economical growth. So there's a huge need for road development, road construction in the country. So that is another focus. Yeah, and you can tie that up with the infrastructural development. What infrastructure? Talking about government infrastructure, police stations, revenue pay, whatever other infrastructure that is involved in there. So those therefore become the government expenses, and then those ones are paid through the return on investment, that is taxation. All right. So when we get these things in place, then the economy can begin to grow. As the economy grow, they contribute to the tax base. When people contribute to the taxation base, then they're able to pay for the road construction and infrastructural development and all of these: energy, water, healthcare, education. Even though they also have their own return on investment, the taxation will act as a caution, or as a source of government guarantee. So in that way, you are seeing that over some period of time, you will want to achieve a balanced budget, and reducing your what do you call it, your debt, especially unsustainable debt, because debt in itself isn't a bad thing. Debt is important sometimes for economic development. So you just need to understand what type of debt it is and what it is meant to deliver. So if the debt has got deliverables, then it is a good debt. But then if the debt is for white elephants and projects, mega projects that do not have any fundamental economic contribution to the country, whether now or in the future, then that is bad debt. It is unsustainable and it is highly unlikely to be repaid. So we do need to focus on that. Be careful on what kind of debt we are getting, and make sure that we come up with a strategy of how to get out of it. So as you can see that after you get these things intact, the economy will grow organically. These other industries, most of the industries in the economy, the government does not need to be involved itself in investing financially. The government also only invests good governance. As I told you, that good governance doesn't cost a lot, doesn't cost money. It costs the right minds and the right hearts. To understand. So at the end of the day, this is what I've just spoken of. That is the job. That is the job of a government. Those are the costs of a government. A government mustn't always be owing a lot of money, mustn't always be growing in its debt, because the economy must function out